this one's a quick little video on what we mean when we say a social issue, a biological issue, or an ethical issue. So these comes up in quite a few of the dot points, but let's just run through what does it mean to be a social issue, a biological issue, or an ethical issue. So to begin with, a social issue is more one that affects a group of people or society. Anything that's economic can often sit under a social issue, or sometimes you might even find a question that asks specifically about economic issues. They're not supposed to. The wording in the study design is social, biological, and ethical. But if it's got something to do with the country making more money or more people becoming unemployed, or generally there's more stress on a healthcare system, for example, any one of those systems or things that are implicating a whole bunch of people or groups of people, that's a social issue. And then I've got the other subgroup is economical issues, anything to do with money, and you go, all right, that's a social issue or a social economic issue. All right, biological issue are the scientific ones. So this is, it gives you more vitamins in the product, so therefore it results in better health. So something to do with the body being better, or something to do with it being a great help to from a scientific perspective. Alternatively, it could be that it produces a toxin, and that toxin kills something. So anything that has got to do with a biological perspective, we call biological issue. And the last one are our ethical issues, and this is the interpretation one. This is the one, is it right or is it wrong? One of the biggest bioethical issues that we talk about frequently here are whether or not we are playing God. Yeah, so let's just have a quick look at these ones here. So we've got the first issue is we have developed plants that are resistant to pests and disease. So do you think it's a societal issue, a biological issue, or an ethical issue? So I want you to pause, have a think, just write 1 to 6 down your page with SBE, and then you can go through and tick how you feel. And then you pause and you come back. I'm hoping you've paused. I'm going to start going through them. So the first one, we have developed plants that are resistant to pest or disease. I say that one fits under biological as an issue, just because it's got to do with the science. It's not got to do with anything that benefits society, and nothing is ethically wrong here. So unborn children will be genetically screened and then aborted if their genetic makeup is faulty. Okay, so I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, perhaps this is a societal issue, but mostly this one to me is going to fall under an ethical, pardon me, dilemma. Sometimes you find that these things can fall into, and you could tick both, but I'm just going to put this one in the ethical bandwagon. So cross-pollination of GM crops would cause a natural weed to become resistant to herbicide. So we haven't mentioned anything to do with people or society. We haven't mentioned anything that's a little bit ethically wrong. So we're going to say here that cross-pollination, even though I haven't taught you about it yet, I'm going to say that's a biological issue. GE means we can produce crops that grow in drought areas. So if we can produce a crop that can grow in an area of drought, what benefit is that going to give us? It's definitely going to give us a biological benefit, because it's giving us that extra yield, and it's making them biologically able to deal with a lower level of water. But I think also it provides us with a bit of societal benefit. We get this plus of being able to grow more crops in areas where there is less food generally. So that's a societal benefit. The second last one, parents could choose the genetic makeup of their child or make designer babies. So yes, again, like the abortion one above, this one here could be named as a societal issue, but a lot of the time we're thinking about, is this right or is this wrong? So I'm going to put that in the ethical category. The last one, GM crops allow many more people to be fed at a lower cost. So that word cost to me goes straight away, it's a social issue here. If it starts to talk about health and an increased health benefit, then I would also put it in the biological one, but you can put it under either. I think it's important, and we'll go through this when we start going through questions, is that you can't have the same, if you're asked to give reasons, you can't put the same reason in 2 boxes, but you can use the same reason sometimes in either box. That'll make more sense when we start to go through more questions. So that's a nice little summary of what a social, a biological, or an ethical issue are.